They said I was lucky to be chosen at all. I believed them, until I saw my fiancé's hand disappear under someone else's shirt at the altar. I should have known something was wrong when Marcus asked me to close my eyes during the vows. "Trust me, Eli," he'd whispered, his breath warm against my ear. "I want this moment to be perfect." Perfect. The word tasted like ash now. I stood there, white roses trembling in my grip, surrounded by 200 guests in the most expensive wedding venue in downtown Seattle. The June sun poured through floor-to-ceiling windows, turning everything gold and soft. Someone's aunt dabbed at her eyes. The string quartet played something romantic and inevitable. And my fiancé, my alpha, had his tongue down his best man's throat. I didn't gasp, didn't scream, didn't cry. I just stood there, frozen, so while the crowd's collective inhale sucked all the oxygen from the room. "Oh my God," someone whispered. "Is that with David?" Marcus pulled back slowly, like he had all the time in the world, like I wasn't standing 3 feet away in a custom suit that cost more than my rent. His eyes met mine, and I waited. God, I waited. For shame, for panic, for anything human. He smiled, not apologetic, not embarrassed, relieved. Finally, he breathed and turned back to David like I'd already disappeared. That's when the room exploded. "I knew it!" "Poor thing, he looks devastated." Well, what did he expect? An omega like that, with someone like Marcus? My fingers went numb. The roses hit the marble floor, petals scattering like evidence. "Eli." My mother's voice cut through the noise, sharp and cold. She stood in the front row, perfectly composed in slate gray, not a hair out of place. "Don't make a scene." I stared at her. "Don't make a scene? You're embarrassing yourself." She didn't even look at me, just dabbed at invisible tears with a handkerchief, playing the devastated mother for an audience that was already choosing sides. "Marcus has been miserable. Anyone could see that." What? "Honestly, Eli, if you'd been a better partner, maybe he wouldn't have—" "Karen." My father's hand landed on her shoulder, but his eyes were on me, cold, evaluating. "We'll discuss this at home." At home. Like I was a child who'd broken curfew instead of a 26-year-old Omega whose life just imploded in front of 200 witnesses. I looked at Marcus again. He was laughing now, David's hand clasped in his, accepting congratulations like they'd just announced an engagement instead of detonating mine. Something cracked open inside my chest, not my heart, that was still numb, but something deeper, older. The part of me I'd been suffocating since I was 14, since I first presented and learned that Omegas were supposed to be soft, sweet, and grateful for any alpha's attention. I was done being grateful. "You know what?" My voice came out steady. Weird, considering my hands were shaking. "Fuck this." The room went silent. My mother's face drained of color. "Elijah James Thorne, you do not." "No, I really do." I stepped off the platform, and the crowd parted like I was contagious. "I'm out." "You can't just leave," Marcus called, his voice pitching up for the first time. There are contracts." "Sue me." I kept walking. I passed the flowers I'd spent 3 weeks choosing, past the cake we'd taste-tested 6 times, past my aunt who'd flown in from Hawaii and was now filming this on her phone. Perfect. Let her post it. Let everyone see. I hit the lobby, and finally let myself breathe. The air tasted like freedom, like shame, like the particular kind of violence that happens when you realize the life you built was never real. Behind me, the venue doors burst open. "Eli, wait!" I spun around, half expecting Marcus, some last-ditch manipulation attempt. But it was my kid brother, Adrian, 17 and furious, still in his usher's boutonniere. "Where are you going?" he demanded. "Anywhere that's not here." "Good." He crossed his arms. "He's a dick. I never liked him." Despite everything, I almost smiled. You told me he was aspirational." "I was being polite. Mom made me." Adrian glanced back at the closed doors. "She's losing her mind in there. Dad's doing damage control. Marcus is crying." "Let him." "Yeah." Adrian's jaw tightened. "For what it's worth, you're better than all of them." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe I was better than the Omega who'd spent 2 years convincing himself that Marcus's coldness was just alpha reservation, that his late nights were work stress, that the way he never scented me in public was respect and not shame. But standing there in a suit that cost $3,000, alone in a lobby that smelled like lilies and lies, I didn't feel better. I felt like prey that finally realized it was never going to escape the trap. "Thanks, Aid." I squeezed his shoulder. "Go back inside." "Oh, you don't need to be part of my mess." "Where will you go?" I didn't answer. Didn't have one. I just walked out into the Seattle afternoon, into the noise of traffic and strangers, and a life I'd have to build from scratch, and tried to ignore the way my hands were still shaking. The shaking didn't stop. I made it half a block before my knees decided they were done pretending to be functional. I caught myself against a lamppost, fingers curling around sun-warmed metal, and focused on breathing like a normal person instead of someone having a breakdown on Pine Street at 3 in the afternoon. A tourist couple swerved around me, the woman's eyes lingering with that particular mix of concern and "please don't ask me for money" wariness. I couldn't blame her. I probably looked unhinged. Designer suit, no tie, boutonniere askew, standing on a sidewalk like I'd forgotten how legs worked. My phone buzzed, then again, then 17 more times in rapid succession. I pulled it out. Notifications flooded the screen. "Marcus Whitfield is no longer in a relationship. You've been tagged in 47 posts. Adrian Thorne tagged you in a video." Oh, God! Oh, no. I opened Instagram with the kind of morbid curiosity that makes people slow down at car accidents. Adrian's video had already hit 2,000 views. The caption read, "When you find out your brother's fiancé is trash, #wedding fail, #karma is real." The video showed Marcus and David locked together, while the officiant stood frozen mid-scripture. You could hear my mother's voice in the background. "Don't make a scene." Then me, clear as day. "Fuck this." Comments were rolling in. "A best life, Jenna. OMG, is this real Chase, the Alpha? Poor Omega, Vanessa Kruger. Wait, is that Marcus Whitfield from Whitfield Industries? Omega Pride, 2024. Good for him. Walk away, King." I closed the app before I could see more. My phone rang. Mom's name flashed across the screen with a photo from last Christmas. All of us smiling like we were a functional family, instead of whatever nightmare dimension we actually occupied. I declined the call. It rang again, immediately. Declined. A text appeared. "Pick up the phone, Elijah." Then another. "Your father wants to speak with you." Then Marcus. "We need to talk. This doesn't have to be ugly." I laughed. Actually laughed, sharp and bitter. And a passing skateboarder gave me a wide berth. This doesn't have to be ugly. Like it wasn't already a dumpster fire visible from space. I typed back, "Already ugly. You made sure of that." His response was instant. "I didn't plan it this way. But you did it anyway. Eli, please, can we just—" I blocked him. Blocked my mother. Blocked my father for good measure. Adrian got to stay because he was the only person in my family who wasn't actively terrible, but everyone else could scream into the void. My phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost kept walking toward nowhere with no plan and no destination. But something made me open it. The message was short. The Omega at the Whitfield disaster. Pike Place Market. North entrance. Now. I stared at the screen. What the hell? Another message. You have questions. We have answers. And you're being followed. My head snapped up. The street looked normal. Tourists with shopping bags. A guy selling flowers. A woman walking 3 tiny dogs. Nobody looked suspicious. But then again, I didn't know what suspicious was supposed to look like when your life imploded an hour ago. Who is this? Someone who knows what you are. My blood went cold. What I am? I typed, fingers clumsy. Not what you think. I looked around again, pulse hammering. This was insane. This was how people got kidnapped, or worse. Meeting random strangers who sent cryptic texts was horror movie victim 101. But, I had nowhere to go, no plan. And whoever this was knew about the wedding, knew my name, and apparently knew something about me that I didn't. Also, I was already having the worst day of my life. What was one more bad decision? 5 minutes, I typed back. Public space. Try anything. And I scream. Fair. I shoved my phone in my pocket and started walking toward Pike Place Market. My hands were still shaking, but now it was adrenaline instead of shock. Progress, maybe. The market was its usual chaos. Fishmongers shouting, tourists taking selfies with the pig statue, the smell of fresh flowers mixing with coffee and grease. I pushed through the crowd toward the north entrance, scanning faces. And then I felt it. Not saw. Felt. A presence, heavy and undeniable, like gravity had shifted 2 degrees to the left. 3 men stood near the flower stalls, and every instinct I had, Omega instincts I usually ignored, screamed at me to pay attention. They didn't look like they belonged in a farmer's market. Too sharp, too still, like predators pretending to be interested in tulips. The one in the center met my eyes. Dark hair. Suit that probably cost more than my rent. Expression that gave away absolutely nothing. And a scent. Oh, God. The scent. It hit me like a punch. Cedar and smoke and something wild underneath. Something that made my hindbrain wake up and take notice. Alpha. Powerful alpha. The kind that made other alphas step aside. I should have run. Instead, I walked straight toward him. He didn't smile, didn't move, just watched me approach like he'd been expecting me, like this was all going exactly according to plan. Elijah Thorne, he said. Not a question. Who the hell are you? Someone who's been looking for you. His voice was low, controlled. And we need to talk about what happened when you were 12. My stomach dropped. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, he said quietly. You do. The man to his left stepped closer, blond, blue-eyed, with a scar along his jaw that looked like it had a story. The fire, he said, the one that shouldn't have happened. I froze. The third man, darker-skinned with silver rings on every finger, tilted his head. You walked out without a scratch. Everyone else burned. That was an accident. My voice came out strangled. The wiring was old. The building was a fire trap. It was just... It wasn't the wiring, the first man said. It was you. The world tilted sideways. You're insane. Your hands were glowing, Eli. Blue. He took a step forward, and I took one back. And you haven't had a single burn mark since, have you? Not from cooking? Not from candles? Not from anything. I couldn't breathe. Who are you? My name is Dominic Kane, he said. Aye, and we're here to offer you a choice. What choice? He smiled then, sharp and dangerous. Come with us and learn what you really are. His eyes never left mine. Or go back to your life and pretend you're normal until the next time your power tries to kill everyone around you. I laughed. Couldn't help it. The sound came out sharp and unhinged, somewhere between hysteria and disbelief. Okay, sure. Cool story. I turned to leave. Tell your therapist I said hi. Dominic caught my wrist. The moment his skin touched mine, everything stopped. Not metaphorically. Actually stopped. The noise of the market faded to static. The smell of flowers and fish disappeared. Even my heartbeat seemed to pause, caught between one moment and the next. And then heat. It started where his fingers pressed against my pulse point and spread like wildfire up my arm, across my chest, sinking into places I didn't have names for. Not sexual heat. Something older, deeper. Like my body recognized his on a level that bypassed my brain entirely. Blue light flickered between our hands. Let go, I breathed. He did. Immediately. Stepping back with his hands raised like I was a spooked animal. The light died. The world came rushing back. Tourists laughing. Seagulls screaming. My heart pounding so hard I could taste it. What the hell was that? That, the blonde one said, was recognition. Recognition of what? Your power meeting ours. He moved closer, not threatening, just curious. His scent hit me next. Rain and ozone, electric and clean. I'm Carter, and you're not crazy. Debatable, I muttered, but my hands were shaking again, and this time it wasn't from shock. The place where Dominic had touched me still burned, phantom heat lingering like a brand. The third man hadn't moved. He watched me with dark eyes that missed nothing, his expression somewhere between amused and calculating. My name's Julian, and before you ask, yes, we're alphas. Yes, we know what that means. And no, we're not here to claim you or bond you or whatever hallmark nonsense you're thinking. I wasn't thinking that. You were definitely thinking that. Damn it. I was. What do you want from me? Dominic straightened his collar, composed again, like the moment between us hadn't just shattered my understanding of reality. We want to help you control it before you hurt someone. I've never hurt anyone. The fire, Eli, that wasn't me. But my voice wavered. Because the truth was, I didn't remember the fire. Not really. I remembered smoke and screaming and then waking up outside with paramedics shining lights in my eyes, asking me how I got out. And I couldn't answer because I didn't know. I still didn't know. You were 12, Carter said quietly. Your school's science lab. Gas line leak, they said. But there was no leak. The investigator's report noted anomalous burn patterns. Blue flame. Concentrated around one point of origin. Your desk, Julian added. My stomach twisted. How do you know that? Because we've been tracking incidents like yours for 5 years. Dominic pulled out his phone, swiped through something, and turned it toward me. Unexplained fires, always with an omega present, always with the same blue signature, and always with the omega walking away unharmed while everything around them burns. The screen showed a map. Dozens of red pins scattered across Washington state. Seattle, Tacoma, Spokane, Bellingham. One pin sat directly over my old middle school. This is insane. This is real. Dominic's voice was maddeningly calm. You're not the only one, Eli. There are others. Omegas with abilities that defy standard designation rules. Gifts that emerge during extreme stress or emotion. Gifts? I laughed again, bitter this time. You mean curses. Depends on how you use them. A tourist bumped into me, apologizing in rapid Japanese. I stumbled forward and Julian's hand shot out, steadying me without making contact. Smart. After what happened with Dominic, I didn't want anyone else touching me. Let's say I believe you. I didn't. But I needed answers, and these three lunatics were the only ones offering. What exactly do you think I can do? Pyrokinesis, Carter said. Fire manipulation. Generation. Immunity. I can't manipulate fire. I'm not some comic book character. Have you tried? Why would I try? I'm not trying to become a supervillain. Julian snorted. You're funny. I like him. Focus, Dominic said, but his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Eli, your power isn't active because you've spent 14 years suppressing it. Probably without even realizing. The mind protects itself from trauma by burying what it can't process. So, you're saying I have fire powers and repressed memories? Fantastic. What's next? You tell me I'm secretly a dragon? Don't be ridiculous, Julian grinned. Dragons aren't real. Carter elbowed him. Look. I rubbed my face, exhausted suddenly. The adrenaline crash was hitting hard, and I hadn't slept well in days thanks to wedding planning stress. Wedding. Marcus. The altar. God, that felt like years ago instead of an hour. I appreciate the X-Men recruitment pitch. I really do. But I just got publicly humiliated. I'm probably viral on TikTok by now, and I have nowhere to sleep tonight because my apartment is full of Marcus's stuff, and I'd rather eat glass than go back there. So unless you're offering actual help, I'm going to go find a hotel and day drink until this makes sense. The three of them exchanged looks. We're offering help, Dominic said. What kind of help? The kind with a roof, food, and training. He stepped closer, and this time I didn't back away. His scent wrapped around me again, warm and steady. Says, come with us, 3 days. If after that you want to leave, we won't stop you. And if I say no right now, then we follow you anyway. Julian shrugged. Because, like I said, you're being watched, and not by us. Cold dread pooled in my stomach. By who? People who want to use Omegas like you as weapons. Carter's expression darkened. They've been collecting them, experimenting. You show up on their radar. You disappear. That's kidnapping. That's reality. I looked at each of them. Dominic, stone-faced and unreadable. Carter, worried in a way that seemed genuine. Julian, still grinning like this was entertaining instead of terrifying. 3 alpha strangers offering protection. Every instinct screamed trap. But blue light. Phantom heat. 14 years of wondering why I survived when no one else did. So 3 days, I said. Dominic's shoulders relaxed. Barely noticeable, but I caught it. 3 days, he agreed. And if I don't like it, I walk. You walk. And no weird alpha dominance bullshit. I just escaped 1 controlling relationship. I'm not jumping into 3 more. Julian's grin widened. Oh, I really like him. Carter extended his hand. Not for a shake, just offering. Deal? I looked at his hand, looked at the market around us, normal and busy, and completely unaware that my life was splintering into before and after. I took his hand. No blue light this time, just warm skin and calluses, and the faint electric buzz of his scent strengthening. Deal, I said, and followed 3 strange alphas into a future I couldn't begin to predict. Their car was exactly what I expected. Black SUV with tinted windows, and parked illegally in a loading zone like laws were optional suggestions for people with money. Of course you drive this, I muttered. Julian opened the back door with a flourish. What, you wanted a minivan? I wanted a normal Saturday. Look how that turned out. I climbed in anyway. The interior smelled like leather and something else, something that made my omega hindbrain sit up and pay attention. Pack scent. Layered and complex, three distinct alpha signatures woven together until they were almost one. It should have been overwhelming. Instead, it felt like stepping into warm water. I hated that I noticed. Carter slid in beside me while Julian took the driver's seat. Dominic claimed the passenger side, already on his phone, typing something with the focused intensity of someone handling a crisis. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Oh, Capitol Hill," Carter said. "We have a place there." "A place? A house? You three live together." It wasn't a question. The pack's scent made that obvious. "Is that a problem?" Julian glanced at me in the rearview mirror, eyes bright with challenge. "Depends. Are you going to murder me and hide my body in the basement?" "We don't have a basement." "That's not reassuring." He grinned. "Wasn't trying to be." The car pulled into traffic, and I watched Pike Place Market disappear behind us. My phone buzzed again. More notifications, more messages from numbers I'd blocked, and some I hadn't. "Adrian, Mom is losing it." Dad locked himself in his office. Marcus left with David. "Where are you?" I typed back. "Safe, I think. Tell Mom I'm fine and she can direct all future communication to my lawyer." "You don't have a lawyer, and she doesn't know that." "Fair. Love you. Love you too." I silenced my phone and shoved it in my pocket. When I looked up, Dominic was watching me in the side mirror. "Your family?" he asked. "Unfortunately. They don't know about your abilities." "Nobody knows. Because, until an hour ago, I didn't have abilities. I had trauma and a decent therapist. And now I have a destroyed wedding, no home, and apparently superpowers." I leaned back against the seat. "So, yeah, living the dream." Carter's knee bumped mine. Accident or purpose, I couldn't tell. "For what it's worth, your ex is an idiot." Noted. I mean it. Who cheats at their own wedding. Someone who was never actually in love. The words came out easier than I expected. Maybe because these strangers didn't know Marcus, didn't know me, it didn't have any stake in pretending my relationship had been real. He wanted the optics. Successful alpha with a nice quiet omega. Good for business. Good for his family's reputation. And you wanted? I thought about it. I wanted to matter to someone. The car went quiet. Julian broke it first. "Well, you matter to us now." "You don't know me." "Not yet." He took a corner too fast and I grabbed the handle above the door. "But we will." That should have sounded threatening. Instead, it sounded like a promise. We drove through downtown, past the Space Needle standing sentinel over the city, past coffee shops and boutiques, and all the normal Saturday afternoon chaos of people living their normal lives. I watched them through tinted glass and felt the distance between us stretch into something impossible to cross. And I wasn't normal anymore. Maybe I never had been. "Here," Dominic said. The house was beautiful. Craftsman style, all dark wood and clean lines, tucked into a quiet street where trees actually had space to grow. The kind of place that cost millions in this neighborhood. "Let me guess," I said as Julian parked. "Old money?" "Older than you'd think," Carter said, which wasn't an answer. Inside was worse. Hardwood floors, exposed beams, furniture that looked both expensive and comfortable, like someone had actually hired a designer instead of just throwing together whatever matched. A massive kitchen opened into a living room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Books lined one wall. Actual books, not just decorative ones. And the whole place smelled like them. Cedar and smoke and rain and something wild. Home. My instincts whispered. I told my instincts to shut up. Guest rooms upstairs, Dominic said, shrugging off his jacket. Underneath he wore a black button-down that probably cost more than my car. Second door on the left. Bathrooms attached. There's clothes in the closet that should fit. You'd just keep spare Omega clothes lying around? We were prepared. That's either very thoughtful or very creepy. Julian laughed. Both. Definitely both. I climbed the stairs, hyper-aware of them watching me go. The guest room was ridiculous. King bed, soft gray walls, a window seat with pillows that looked like clouds, and the closet, when I opened it, held a full wardrobe in exactly my size. I pulled out a soft black sweater. The tag was still attached. Nordstrom. $200. You're insane, I called down the stairs. Ooh, generous, Carter corrected, appearing in the doorway. There's a difference. Is there? He leaned against the frame, relaxed in a way that should have been disarming, but just made me more aware of how much space he took up. How easily he could block my exit if he wanted. He didn't want. I could tell. But my brain catalogued it anyway. We're not trying to trap you, Eli. Everyone says that right before the trap springs. Fair point. He smiled, soft and genuine. But we're not them. Your ex, your family. We don't want you to be something you're not. You want me to be a weapon. We want you to be safe. His expression shifted, something darker moving behind his eyes. And to do that, you need to understand what you're capable of, before someone else does. The people you mentioned aren't the ones collecting Omegas. Yeah. Who are they? That's a longer conversation. He pushed off the door frame. Get changed. Come down when you're ready. We'll explain everything. He left before I could argue. I stood there holding a $200 sweater and wondered what the hell I was doing. This was crazy. Following strange alphas to their home. Believing stories about fire powers and conspiracies. But then I remembered the blue light. The heat of Dominic's touch. 14 years of nightmares about smoke and flames. I changed clothes. The sweater fit perfectly. Soft against my skin. Warm without being heavy. I caught my reflection in the mirror. Still me. Same dark hair falling in my eyes. Same sharp cheekbones my mother always said made me look severe. Same brown eyes that had watched my life implode 6 hours ago. But something was different. I looked solid. Present. Like I was finally standing in my own life instead of watching it happen to someone else. My hands started to warm. I looked down, and my breath caught. Blue light flickered across my palms, subtle as candlelight, dancing between my fingers like it had been waiting all along. Oh, hell, I whispered. The light grew brighter. Downstairs, someone shouted my name. The light flared, hot and sudden, and the sprinklers in the ceiling exploded to life. Water rained down in freezing sheets. I stared at my hands, still glowing blue beneath the deluge, and tried to remember how to make them stop. The heat didn't fade. If anything, it grew stronger, spreading up my wrists like fever. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. Eli! Carter burst through the door, soaked instantly, my eyes scanning the room for damage. When he found me standing there unharmed, something in his shoulders relaxed. Are you hurt? I'm fine. The ceiling's not. He looked up at the destroyed sprinkler head, water still gushing from the broken pipe, and laughed. Actually laughed, bright and surprised. Not funny, I said, but the panic was fading, replaced by embarrassment and the surreal absurdity of standing in a flooding guest room with glowing hands. It's a little funny. Julian appeared behind Carter, hair plastered to his forehead, grinning like this was the best entertainment he'd had in weeks. Did you get mad at the sweater? I got mad at my life. Fair. Dominic materialized with a toolbox, because apparently he was the kind of person who just had toolboxes ready for emergencies. He moved past us without a word. It climbed onto the window seat and started working on the pipe with efficient, practiced movements. The water slowed, then stopped. Silence, except for the drip, drip, drip of water running off furniture. I looked at my hands. The blue light was gone. Just normal skin, normal fingers, trembling slightly in the cold. I didn't mean to, I said quietly. We know. Carter stepped closer, careful not to crowd me. Your power responds to emotion, fear, anger, stress. Right now, you're running on all three. So what? I'm just going to randomly explode things when I get upset. Not if we teach you control. Dominic climbed down, toolbox in hand, and finally looked at me. Water dripped from his hair, his shirt clinging to shoulders that were broader than they had any right to be. But you need to stop fighting it. The more you resist, and the more volatile it becomes. I'm not fighting it. You are. He set the toolbox down with deliberate care. You've been fighting it for 14 years. Your body knows what to do. Your mind won't let it. Because my mind remembers what happened last time, I let it do what it wanted. My voice came out sharper than intended. People died. People died because you were 12, and untrained, and terrified. Julian's humor had faded, replaced by something serious. Not because you're dangerous, because you didn't know what you were. And now I do? Now you can learn. I wanted to argue, wanted to throw their logic back at them and walk out into the rain and pretend this was all a stress-induced hallucination. But I couldn't, because they were right. The room's flooded, I said instead. Come, so's the hallway, Carter said cheerfully. And probably the living room by now. I'll get towels, Julian offered, and disappeared downstairs. Dominic studied me with that unreadable expression, and I fought the urge to look away. His scent was stronger now, enhanced by water and proximity, wrapping around me like a physical presence. You're afraid of yourself, he said, not a question. Shouldn't I be? No. He moved closer and I forced myself to stay still. Fear makes it worse. You need to stop seeing your power as something separate. It's part of you, like breathing. Breathing doesn't destroy sprinkler systems. Breathing doesn't require practice either. His hand lifted, hovering near mine, but not touching. May I? I should have said no. Should have kept the distance. Maintained the walls. So protected myself from whatever this was building between us. I nodded. His fingers wrapped around my wrist, warm despite the cold water, thumb pressing against my pulse point. The blue light flickered back to life, soft this time, gentle. Feel that? He murmured. Yeah. That's your power recognizing mine. Alpha to Omega. It's instinct, biological. His other hand came up, cupping my palm, the light dancing between our skin. But it's also choice. You can let it burn, or you can let it warm. The power doesn't decide. You do. The heat in my hands shifted, still present, still humming with potential, but controlled. Leashed. How are you doing that? I'm not. You are. His eyes met mine, gray and storm dark. I'm just showing you it's possible. Julian returned with an armful of towels and stopped in the doorway. Oh, are we having a moment? The spell broke. Dominic released my hand and stepped back, expression sliding back into neutral. The blue light died. We're drying off, I said, grabbing a towel and rubbing my hair aggressively so I didn't have to look at either of them. Sure, that's what that was. Julian tossed towels at Carter and Dominic. Very dry. Much professional. Shut up. Carter and I said simultaneously. Julian's grin returned full force. We moved downstairs to survey the damage. Water dripped through the ceiling in 3 places, pooling on the hardwood. The couch was soaked. So were the bookshelves, several books already warping. "I'm so sorry," I said. "Don't be." Carter was already pulling books off shelves, checking for damage. This place has survived worse. Worse than an Omega with panic-induced pyrokinesis? You'd be surprised. Dominic disappeared into the kitchen and returned with buckets, mops, and the calm efficiency of someone who'd done this before. We fell into a rhythm, working in silence broken only by the splash of water and Julian's occasional commentary. It was strange, domestic. 3 alphas and an omega cleaning up a disaster I'd caused, and nobody was angry. Nobody was blaming me or calling me broken or looking at me like I was a problem to solve. They just cleaned. "Here." Carter handed me a dry shirt when we finished. His shirt, probably, based on how it swallowed me. It smelled like rain and ozone and something uniquely him. I pulled it on without thinking. All 3 of them went very still. "Deets, what?" "Nothing," Julian said too quickly. "That's not nothing." Carter rubbed the back of his neck. "You're wearing my scent now. It's just a thing. A thing. An Omega thing," Dominic clarified. "Wearing an Alpha's clothes. It signals—" "Oh." Heat flooded my face. "Oh, God, I didn't mean to. I can change. I'll just grab something else and then we can forget this happened. And maybe I'll go drown myself in Puget Sound because that sounds better than this conversation right now." "Eli." Dominic caught my arm before I could bolt. "Breathe." "I'm breathing." "You're spiraling." He wasn't wrong. "It's fine," Carter said, soft and earnest. "Actually, it's nice. You smell good." Julian covered his face. "Carter, buddy, that's not helping." "What? He does?" I looked between the 3 of them. Dominic, composed and unreadable. Is Carter blushing, but defiant. Julian torn between amusement and something that looked almost like longing. And I realized, with sudden, terrible clarity, that this wasn't just about teaching me control. They wanted me here. Not as a student. Not as a project. As Pack. "I need air," I said. Nobody stopped me when I walked to the windows, pressing my forehead against the cool glass. The city stretched out below, lights beginning to flicker on as evening approached. Somewhere out there, my old life was happening without me. Marcus probably explaining to guests what happened. My mother crafting the perfect story to save face. My father calculating the financial damage. And here I was, in a flooded house with 3 strange alphas who looked at me like I was something precious instead of broken. 3 days, I whispered. Behind me, someone moved closer. I caught Dominic's reflection in the glass. 3 days, he agreed, but we both knew it was already too late for that. "Tell me about the fire." I didn't turn around. Kept my eyes on the city lights blurring through the rain-streaked window. "I don't remember it." "Trauma blocks memory." Dominic's reflection moved closer, stopping just shy of touching distance. "But pieces come back. Usually when you're ready." "And if I'm never ready?" "Then we wait." Something in my chest loosened at that. The simple acceptance. No pushing, no demanding, no insisting I perform my trauma for their curiosity. "There was smoke," I heard myself say. The words felt distant, like someone else was speaking. I remember smoke and screaming. And my lab partner, Jesse, he was trying to open the window, but it was stuck. Behind me, Carter and Julian had gone quiet, listening. The teacher was yelling at everyone to get down, stay low, crawl to the door. But the door was blocked. Something had fallen. A bookshelf, maybe. My breath fogged the glass. I couldn't breathe. Everything was hot and dark, and I thought, this is it. This is how I die. But you didn't, Dominic said softly. No. I closed my eyes. I got angry. Not scared. Angry. Because it wasn't fair. I was 12, and I hadn't done anything wrong, and I was going to die in a stupid science lab because of faulty wiring. And I remember thinking, no. Just, no. The memory sharpened, coming into focus like someone adjusting a lens. My hands got hot. Really hot. But it didn't hurt. And there was light. Blue light. So bright I had to close my eyes, and when I opened them again, I was outside, on the lawn, and the building was burning behind me. You teleported, Julian said. I don't know what I did. My voice cracked. I just know that 6 people died, and I walked away without a scratch. They said I was lucky. Miraculous survival. But Jessie didn't survive. Neither did Mrs. Patterson or any of the others. Just me. Silence stretched between us, heavy with things unsaid. That's why you suppress it, Carter said finally. You think your power killed them. Didn't it? No. Dominic moved beside me, close enough that I could feel his warmth. Your power saved you. The fire killed them. Those are separate things. Are they? Yes. He turned to face me, and I had no choice but to meet his eyes. Eli, you were 12, untrained, terrified. Your power activated in the most primal way possible. Flight response. It got you out. That's what it was supposed to do. It should have gotten everyone out. You can't control what you don't understand. And you were a child. His hand lifted, hovering near my face. May I? I nodded, not trusting my voice. His palm cupped my cheek, warm and steady, and I realized I was shaking. Had been shaken this whole time. It wasn't your fault, he said. You don't know that. I do. His thumb brushed my cheekbone, catching a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. Because I've seen what happens when Omegas like you are left alone. When they're told they're wrong or broken or dangerous, they believe it. And belief shapes reality more than you'd think. Speaking from experience? Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe, or recognition. My brother was like you, he said quietly. Omega, powerful, untrained. He tried to help during a house fire when he was 16. Tried to control the flames, pull them away from the family trapped inside. His jaw tightened. He couldn't. The fire consumed him instead, and everyone he was trying to save. My breath caught. Dominic. He died believing he was a monster, that his power was a curse. His hand dropped from my face, but his eyes held mine, intense and unwavering. I won't let that happen to you. The weight of those words settled over me like a blanket. Heavy, but warm. Is that why you do this? I asked. Track Omegas with abilities? Part of it. Carter joined us at the window, and suddenly I was flanked by warmth on both sides. We all have our reasons. What's yours? He hesitated, glancing at Julian, who nodded slightly. I was military, Carter said. Special ops. They recruited me young, told me my abilities made me valuable. Lightning manipulation. He held up his hand and sparks danced between his fingers, blue-white and beautiful. Useful for taking out electronics, disabling security, quiet kills. The sparks died. They didn't care that I was an alpha, or that using my power that way felt like tearing pieces off my soul. They just cared that I was effective. His smile was bitter. Took me 6 years to realize I was a weapon to them, not a person. How'd you get out? Dominic found me. He looked at the other alpha with something like reverence. Offered me a choice. Keep being their tool or learn to be myself. I turned to Julian. And you? He'd been quiet through all this, and leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. Now he pushed off, joining our small circle. My story's less tragic, he said, but his voice was tight. Just your standard Omega gets sold to rich alpha for breeding rights situation. My stomach dropped. What? My parents were broke. Gambling debts. I was 17 and presented late, which made me valuable apparently. Rare scent profile. He shrugged like it didn't matter, but his hands were fisted at his sides. They sold me to some tech billionaire in California. Contract and everything. Legal. That's not legal, I said. That's trafficking. It's legal if you call it an arranged bond and get the right lawyers. His smile was sharp. I lasted 3 months before I set his penthouse on fire and ran. It turned out I had talents beyond looking pretty and staying quiet. Metal manipulation, Carter supplied. He can control anything with iron content, blood included. I stared at Julian. Sweet, grinning Julian who made jokes about murder and looked at the world like it was a game. You could have killed him, I said. I thought about it. His eyes met mine, dark and serious. Every single day. But Dominic found me first. Taught me there were better ways to be free. 3 alphas. 3 stories. 3 people who understood what it meant to be treated like tools instead of humans. You're not just teaching me control, I said slowly. You're building something. A pack, Dominic confirmed, of people like us, people with abilities, people who've been used or hunted or told they're too dangerous to exist. How many? Just us 3. For now. He glanced at Carter and Julian. We've been looking for the right 4th. Someone who needs what we can offer. Someone we can trust. And you think that's me. We know it's you. Julian's grin returned, softer this time. You flooded our house, and we didn't even get mad. That's true love right there. Despite everything, I laughed. Watery and broken, but real. I'm a mess, I said. So are we, Carter pointed out. I just got left at the altar. We've all got baggage. I might accidentally burn your house down. It's insured. I looked at the 3 of them. Dominic, serious and solid. Carter, warm and hopeful. Julian, sharp and protective. And I thought about Marcus, about my family, about spending 26 years trying to be small enough, quiet enough, normal enough to deserve love. These 3 weren't asking me to be anything but myself, broken pieces and all. Okay, I whispered. Dominic's expression softened. Okay? Teach me, whatever this is, however it works. I took a shaky breath. I'm in. The relief on their faces was palpable. Carter pulled me into a hug before I could protest, all warmth and rain scent and solid presence. Julian joined from the other side, and then Dominic's arms wrapped around all of us, creating a wall of alpha that should have been suffocating but just felt safe. My phone buzzed in my pocket. We all ignored it. For the first time in 14 years, I let myself believe that maybe my power wasn't a curse. Maybe it was just waiting for the right people to help me understand it. They pulled back slowly, like letting go required effort. My phone buzzed again, insistent. See, you should check that, Dominic said, though he didn't look happy about it. I pulled it out. 23 missed calls, 46 texts. Most from blocked numbers, but one name made my stomach clench. Marcus, we need to talk. Please. I know I messed up, but there are things you don't understand. Your family is looking for you. They're worried. Eli, answer me. The last one had come through 2 minutes ago. I'm at your apartment. Where are you? Hell. I showed them the screen. He's at my place. Do you want to go back? Carter asked carefully. No. The answer was immediate, certain. But all my stuff is there. My documents, my laptop, photos of my brother, everything. Julian cracked his knuckles. Want us to get it for you? That's breaking and entering. Only if we break something. His grin turned predatory. We could be very polite about it. Despite everything, I smiled. As tempting as that is, I should probably handle it myself, like an adult. You don't have to face him alone, Dominic said. I know. And weirdly, I did know. These three would follow me into whatever mess I asked. The certainty of it was strange and solid and completely foreign. But I need to do this. Close the door properly instead of just running away. Then we come with you. Carter's tone left no room for argument. We'll wait outside, but we're coming. I should have protested, should have insisted I could handle Marcus on my own. But the truth was, I didn't want to. Okay, I said. 20 minutes later, we pulled up outside my apartment building in Queen Anne, the place I'd shared with Marcus for 8 months. Slowly filling it with furniture, we picked together and routines that felt like building a life. All lies, apparently. Third floor, I said. Apartment 3C. We'll be right here. Dominic's hand found mine, squeezed once. Anything feels wrong, you call out. We'll hear you. Alpha hearing? Something like that. I climbed out of the SUV and immediately wanted to climb back in. The building looked the same. Brick facade, window boxes with flowers I'd planted, the bench out front, where Mrs. Chen from 2B always sat feeding pigeons. Normal. Everything looked so normal. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, needing the time to prepare. My key still worked. The door swung open to reveal Marcus sitting on our couch. My couch. The one I'd found at an estate sale and reupholstered myself. He looked up. His eyes were red. Eli. Thank God. He stood, taking a step toward me, before stopping at whatever he saw on my face. I've been calling. I know. Where have you been? Your family is losing their minds. Your mother called me 17 times. I'm sure she did. I closed the door behind me, staying near the exit. What do you want, Marcus? To explain. He ran a hand through his hair, the gesture achingly familiar. Today wasn't supposed to happen like that. Oh, so there was a plan for how you'd cheat on me at our wedding. I'd love to hear it. He flinched. Don't be cruel. I'm not being cruel. I'm being accurate. I moved past him toward the bedroom, started pulling clothes from the closet. I'm just here for my things. Then I'm gone. Just like that? Just like that. Eli, please. His voice broke. I know I hurt you. I know this looks terrible. But David and we didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I stopped, a sweater halfway into my duffel bag. How long? What? How long have you been sleeping with him? Silence. Marcus, how long? 6 months. Barely a whisper. The sweater fell from my hands. 6 months. Half our relationship. Every time he said he was working late. Every business trip. Every moment I'd convinced myself I was being paranoid, that I should trust him more. Get out, I said quietly. Eli, get out. My hands were getting warm. I shoved them in my pockets before he could see. This is my apartment. My name on the lease. Mine. You get out or I call the cops. You wouldn't. I pulled out my phone. He stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Oh, maybe the Eli he knew had died at that altar, and this was someone new. Someone who didn't beg for scraps of affection from people who didn't value him. Fine. He grabbed his jacket from the chair. But you're making a mistake. You need me, Eli. You've always needed me. No, I said. I really don't. He left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frames on the wall. I stood there, breathing hard, waiting for the tears to come. They didn't. Instead, I felt light, untethered, free. I packed faster, grabbing everything that mattered. Clothes, documents, the wooden box with my grandmother's jewelry, photos of Adrian, my laptop, books Marcus had always said were taking up too much space. I was shoving the last of it into bags when I heard the click, the door opening. I told you to leave, I said without turning around. He did leave, Dominic's voice. We saw him go. Thought you might need help carrying things. I turned. All three of them stood in my doorway, and the relief that crashed through me was almost painful. How did you get up here? Mrs. Chen let us in, Julian said cheerfully. Told her we were your cousins helping you move. She gave us cookies. Of course she did. I looked at the bags scattered around the room. This is everything. I don't want anything else. Carter picked up 2 duffel bags like they weighed nothing. Then let's go home. Home. He'd said home, not their place or the house. Home. Wait. I moved to the kitchen, grabbed the cast-iron skillet from the stove. The one thing I'd brought from my grandmother's house after she died. Okay, now I'm ready. We loaded everything into the SUV, Mrs. to Chen watching from her window with obvious approval. The sun had set fully now, Seattle lighting up against the darkness, and I took one last look at the building where I'd tried so hard to build a life with someone who never wanted it. You okay? Julian asked softly. Yeah. I was surprised to find I meant it. I really am. The drive back to Capitol Hill felt different, lighter, like I'd shed weight I hadn't known I was carrying. Inside, they helped me unpack, filling the guest room closet with my things, setting up my laptop on the desk by the window, making space for me like I'd always belonged there. Hungry? Carter asked when we finished. My stomach answered for me. I'll take that as a yes. He headed for the kitchen. Hope you like pasta, because that's literally the only thing I know how to make that won't poison anyone. Speak for yourself. Julian followed him. I make excellent toast. Toast isn't cooking. It's cooking adjacent. Their bickering faded as they disappeared downstairs, leaving me alone with Dominic. Thank you, I said, for today, for all of it. You don't have to thank us. I want to. I met his eyes. I spent 2 years with Marcus, and never felt as safe as I have in the last 6 hours with you 3. That means something. He moved closer, slow and deliberate, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His hand cupped my face again, thumb tracing my cheekbone. You're packed now, Eli. That means something to us, too. Even though you barely know me? We know enough. He leaned in, his breath warm against my forehead. We know you're strong and funny and kind even when people don't deserve it. We know you flood houses and make terrible jokes and smell like summer rain. That's weirdly specific. It's your scent. His voice dropped lower. And it's driving all 3 of us crazy. My breath caught. Oh. Yeah. Oh. He pulled back enough to meet my eyes. But we're not Marcus. We won't push, won't demand. This happens at your pace, or not at all. And if I don't know what my pace is, then we figure it out together. Downstairs, something clattered, and Julian swore loudly. Dominic smiled. Come on, before they burned down the kitchen. He took my hand, warm and certain, and led me toward the sound of my new pack trying to make dinner. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The kitchen was a disaster. Carter stood at the stove, stirring something that looked suspiciously like soup instead of pasta. Julian perched on the counter, eating shredded cheese directly from the bag. And there was flour. Everywhere. On the floor, the counters, somehow on the ceiling. "What happened here?" I asked. "Creative differences," Julian said through a mouthful of cheddar. "He tried to make fresh pasta," Carter explained without looking up from his pot. "Turns out that's harder than YouTube makes it look. It's just flour and eggs. How hard could it be?" "Apparently, very." I looked at the dough massacre on the counter, then at Julian's flour-dusted hair, then at Dominic's carefully neutral expression. "You have a literal disaster omega upstairs, who floods rooms when stressed," I said. "And you're worried about pasta?" Carter finally looked at me, grinning. "Fair point." "Move!" I hip-checked him away from the stove. "What were you trying to make?" "Carbonara." "And you decided to make fresh pasta for your first attempt? Go big or go home." "That's not how cooking works." I surveyed the damage. "Salvageable, maybe." "Okay, new plan. Julian, stop eating the cheese. We need it. Carter, find me garlic and pancetta if you have it. Bacon if you don't. Dominic." "I'll clean," he said, already reaching for paper towels. We fell into a rhythm. Me actually cooking while Carter handed me ingredients, and Julian provided commentary that was more hindrance than help. Dominic wiped down surfaces with methodical precision, and the kitchen slowly transformed from war zone to functional space. "Where'd you learn to cook?" Carter asked, watching me whisk eggs with parmesan. "My grandmother. She said omegas who could feed themselves were harder to control." I added black pepper, tasting as I went. Turns out she was right. Smart woman. She was. The pasta water boiled. I dropped in spaghetti, set a timer, and turned to find all three of them watching me with identical expressions of fascination. "What?" "Nothing," Julian said too quickly. "Just, you look good in our kitchen." "Your kitchen that I flooded earlier." Details. The timer dinged. I drained the pasta, tossed it with the egg mixture and crispy pancetta, and plated 4 servings in under a minute. Eat before it gets cold. We crowded around the island, no formal dining room nonsense. You just 4 people and really good carbonara. Carter made appreciative noises. Julian went back for seconds immediately. Even Dominic's expression softened into something approaching contentment. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. It buzzed again. "You should check that," Dominic said quietly. I pulled it out. My mother's name flashed across the screen, along with a text preview that made my stomach sink. "We need to talk about your inheritance. Call me immediately." "Hell," I muttered. "What?" Carter leaned over, reading the screen. His expression darkened. "What inheritance?" "My grandmother left me her house in Bellingham when she died, but the estate's still in probate. My parents have been managing it." I stared at the message. Or they were supposed to be. Another text came through, then another. Then my phone started ringing, and I declined it. It rang again immediately. "Answer it," Julian said. "Put it on speaker." I did, against my better judgment. "Elijah!" My mother's voice cut through the kitchen like a knife. "Where are you?" "None of your business. Don't be childish. Your father and I need to discuss your grandmother's property. There are legal matters that require your signature." "Then email me the documents." "This needs to be handled in person. There are complications." "What kind of complications?" Silence. Too long. "Mom, what kind of complications?" "We had to take out a loan against the property," she said finally. for Marcus's business venture. But the investment fell through and now the bank is calling it in. If you don't sign the house over to us, we'll lose everything. The carbonara turned to ash in my mouth. You mortgaged my inheritance. We were trying to help you build a future with Marcus, a stable future. But now, that's gone, and we need you to be reasonable about this. Reasonable? I laughed, sharp and bitter. You want me to give you my grandmother's house because you gambled it away on my ex-fiancé's failed business. It's not gambling, it's investing. And Marcus assured us. Marcus is a liar. My hands slammed down on the counter. Blue light flickered across my knuckles. He's been lying to everyone for months, including you. And you believed him because he was an alpha with money and connections, and I was just an omega who should be grateful someone wanted me. Elijah James Thorne, you watch your tone. No. The word came out steady despite the rage burning through my veins. I'm done watching my tone, and I'm done being grateful. I'm done pretending you ever cared about me instead of what I could do for your social status. After everything we've done for you? You mean after everything you've taken from me? The blue light was spreading now, creeping up my arms. Carter moved closer, but didn't touch me. My childhood, my confidence, my inheritance. What's left, Mom? What else do you want? We're your family. Family doesn't sell their kids' future to impress people at country clubs. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. My voice cracked. For the first time in my life, I'm being honest. And you can't stand it because it means you have to look at what you've done. What we've done. Her voice pitched higher. We raised you, fed you, gave you every opportunity. And this is how you repay us? By throwing a tantrum because your wedding didn't work out? The light flared bright enough that Carter flinched. My wedding didn't work out, I said slowly, because my fiancé was sleeping with someone else for half our relationship. And when I found out, you told me not to make a scene. You were more worried about embarrassment than the fact that I was hurting. That's not fair. It's completely fair. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. You've never once asked if I was okay. Not today. Not ever. You just wanted me to be quiet and compliant and easy. Eli, my father's voice now, quieter. Your mother's upset. Let's all calm down and discuss this rationally. There's nothing to discuss. I looked at Dominic, at Carter, at Julian, three people who'd known me for hours and still treated me with more care than my parents had in 26 years. The house is mine. Grandma left it to me, and I'm not signing anything. You'll regret this, my mother hissed. The only thing I regret is not doing this sooner. I hung up. The blue light died. And then I started shaking. Carter caught me before my knees gave out, lowering us both to the floor while Julian grabbed a glass of water, and Dominic pulled out his phone, already typing something. Breathe, Carter murmured against my hair. Just breathe. They mortgaged my house. The words came out broken. They took the one thing my grandmother wanted me to have, and they took it. We'll fix it. Dominic crouched in front of me, his expression hard. I'm messaging our lawyer now. If they mortgaged property they don't own, that's fraud. We can stop this. But the bank will deal with us. His hand found mine, squeezed tight. You're not alone in this, Eli. Not anymore. Julian sat beside us, pressing the water glass into my free hand. Drink. Then we're going to figure out how to legally destroy your parents' lives. It'll be fun. Despite everything, I laughed. Watery and half hysterical, but real. I thought today couldn't get worse, I said. Silver lining, Carter offered. Now you know exactly how terrible they are. No more pretending. He was right. The illusion had shattered completely. My family, my relationship, everything I'd built my life around was just smoke and mirrors. But here, on a kitchen floor with three alphas who barely knew me, I felt more solid than I had in years. My phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. I almost didn't open it. Almost threw the phone across the room. But something made me look. We know what you are. We know where you are. And we're coming for you. Attached was a photo of this house, taken from across the street. Tonight. The phone slipped from my fingers. Dominic caught it before it hit the floor, his expression going from concerned to lethal in the space of a heartbeat. He showed the screen to Carter and Julian without a word. Lights off, Julian said, already moving. Now. The kitchen plunged into darkness. Carter's arms tightened around me as Dominic crossed to the window, staying to the side, scanning the street below. I don't see anyone, he said quietly. They were there long enough to take the photo. Julian's voice came from somewhere near the living room. Could be gone. Could be watching to see our reaction. My heart hammered against my ribs. Who are they? The people we warned you about. Carter's breath was warm against my temple. The ones collecting omegas with abilities. How did they find me so fast? Your wedding was public. Dominic kept his eyes on the street. Viral, according to those comments your brother posted. Someone was watching, saw what you can do, or at least suspected. I didn't do anything at the wedding. You walked away from a public humiliation without breaking. Julian appeared beside us, and I could just make out the glint of metal between his fingers. Rings, I realized, his weapons. For an Omega, that kind of strength is noticeable. Add in your family's reaction, your ex's confusion, and anyone paying attention would start asking questions. So what do? We move. Dominic pulled out his phone, dialed. Marcus, it's Kane. Secure the house. We've got visitors. A pause. No, not those kind. The bad kind. Full lockdown. He hung up and turned to us. We have maybe 10 minutes before they make a move. If they're smart, they'll wait. Watch the house. Learn our patterns. But if they're desperate... Glass shattered upstairs. Or they're stupid, Julian finished. The temperature in the room dropped. Not metaphorically. Actual cold, spreading from my chest outward as fear spiked through me. Eli. Carter's voice was steady. I need you to stay calm. Someone just broke into the house. I know. But your power responds to emotion, remember? And fear makes it unpredictable. Footsteps overhead. Multiple sets. Dominic moved toward the stairs, Julian flanking him. Carter kept me behind them both, one arm around my waist, protective and immovable. How many? Julian whispered. At least 3. Dominic's voice was barely audible. Professional. They knew exactly which window to break. The guest room, I said, horror dawning. All my things are just things. Carter squeezed my hip. You're what matters. A voice called down from upstairs. Female. Cultured. Wrong. We know you're down there, Elijah Thorne. We're not here to hurt you. We just want to talk. People who just want to talk use doors, I called back before anyone could stop me. Carter made a strangled sound that might have been a laugh. Fair point. The woman appeared at the top of the stairs. 40s. An expensive suit. Smile that didn't reach her eyes. 2 men flanked her, both built like they spent their lives in gyms. But you weren't answering your phone. We thought a more direct approach might be necessary. Breaking and entering is your idea of direct? It's efficient. She descended 3 steps. Dominic's posture shifted, ready to move. She noticed and stopped. Easy, Alpha. We're not here for a fight, just a conversation. Then you can schedule an appointment like normal people, Julian said cheerfully. His rings caught the dim light from the street, preferably during business hours. This is time-sensitive. Her eyes fixed on me, calculating. Elijah, my name is Dr. Sarah Vance. I represent an organization that helps Omegas like you understand and control their abilities. We've been tracking incidents in the Seattle area for months. Today's wedding was illuminating. I didn't do anything at the wedding. Exactly, she smiled. Most Omegas in your situation would have collapsed, gone into shock, needed medical intervention, but you walked away composed, controlled. That kind of suppression requires enormous power. Or, I'm just really good at pretending. Perhaps. But the fire at your middle school 14 years ago suggests otherwise. My blood went cold. That was investigated, Dominic said. Ruled accidental. Because we made sure it was. Dr. Vance descended another step. We've been watching Elijah since he was 12. Waiting to see if the ability would manifest again. Today, confirmed it. You've been watching me for 14 years? My voice came out strangled. That's not help. That's stalking. That's protection. Do you have any idea how many groups would kill for an Omega with pyrokinesis? We kept you safe, hidden. But now you've made yourself visible. Her expression hardened. Coming here was a mistake. These three can't protect you. Not from what's coming. And you can? Carter's voice dripped skepticism. We have resources, training facilities, legal protection, everything Elijah needs to survive what happens next. What happens next? I asked. War. She said it simply. Between people like us, who want to help, and people who want to weaponize you. You're not the only gifted Omega, Elijah, but you're one of the strongest we've found. That makes you valuable, which makes you a target. So your solution is to lock me up in some facility. Our solution is to teach you control before you hurt someone you care about. Her eyes flicked to Dominic, Carter, Julian. Before your power burns them alive in their sleep. The words hit like a physical blow. That won't happen, I said, but my voice wavered. You don't know that. You can't control it. Today you flooded a room. Tomorrow it might be fire. The day after. She shrugged. These things escalate. We've seen it before. She's lying. Julian's voice was flat. Classic manipulation. Scare the target, offer salvation, secure compliance. I'm telling the truth. Dr. Vance pulled out her phone, swiped through something. Would you like to see what happened to the last pyrokinetic Omega who refused our help? The apartment building he lived in burned. 37 dead, including his pack. She held up the screen. Photos of a burned-out building. Bodies covered in sheets. And in the center, a young man in handcuffs, face destroyed by guilt. His name was Daniel Kim, she said softly. He thought he could control it too. My hands started to warm. Eli. Carter's grip tightened. Don't listen to her. She's showing you worst-case scenarios, Dominic added. Fear tactics. I'm showing him reality. Dr. Vance pocketed her phone. You have 48 hours to decide, Elijah. Come with us willingly and learn control. Or stay here and risk becoming the next Daniel Kim. She turned to leave, her guards following. We'll be in touch. They disappeared back upstairs. A moment later, the front door opened and closed. Silence. They left, Julian said, surprise coloring his voice. They actually just left. Because they think they won. Dominic released a breath I hadn't realized he was holding. They planted the seed. Now they wait for it to grow. I looked down at my hands. Still warm. Still dangerous. What if she's right? I whispered. What if I can't control it? What if I hurt you? You won't. Carter turned me to face him, hands gentle on my shoulders. Eli, look at me. I did. You've had this power for 14 years. You've been angry, scared, devastated. And the worst thing you've done is flood a room and break a sprinkler. That's not someone losing control. That's someone desperately trying to maintain it. But Daniel Kim might not exist. Julian crouched beside us. Could be a fabrication. Or a completely different situation. We don't know. What we do know is that she's trying to isolate you from people who actually care. You barely know me. We know enough. Dominic joined us, completing the circle. We know you're strong. We know you're fighting. And we know you're not alone anymore. That matters more than she wants you to believe. My phone buzzed. Another message. Tick-tock, Elijah. The clock is counting down. Choose wisely. I looked at the three of them. At Dominic's steady certainty. Carter's warm faith. Julian's sharp protectiveness. Then I looked at my hands, still glowing faint blue in the darkness. Teach me, I said. Not them. You. Teach me how to control this before anyone else gets hurt. Are you sure? Dominic asked. No. I smiled. Brittle, but real. But I trust you more than I trust strangers who break into houses and show me horror stories. That's good enough for me, Julian grinned. Plus, we have 48 hours to prove her wrong. I love a good deadline. Outside, a car engine started, drove away, but I knew they'd be back, and next time, they might not ask so nicely. We start now, Dominic said. Now? I looked at the broken window upstairs, the darkness pressing against the remaining glass. It's the middle of the night. And you're terrified. He moved closer, deliberate and calm. Fear is what makes power spiral. So we teach your body that fear doesn't have to mean destruction. How? By making you feel it. Safely. Carter stood, pulling me up with him. Come on. They led me to the backyard. A space I hadn't seen yet, surprisingly large for Capitol Hill, but enclosed by high fences and old growth trees that blocked the view from neighboring houses. Julian flicked on a string of lights overhead, soft and warm, turning the space intimate instead of exposed. This is our training ground, he explained, soundproofed by the trees, private, safe. Dominic stood in the center of the yard, hands loose at his sides. Show me your fire, Eli. I don't know how. Yes, you do. You just don't trust it. His eyes held mine. Think about today. The altar. Marcus. Your mother. Everything that hurt. That's a terrible idea. It's the only idea. Carter moved to stand beside Dominic. We're here. We're not leaving. And we're not afraid of you. You should be. But we're not. Julian completed the triangle around me. So stop protecting us and start trusting yourself. I closed my eyes. I let myself remember. Marcus's mouth on someone else's. My mother's cold dismissal. The photo of this house. Dr. Vance's smile. 14 years of wondering if I was broken. Heat bloomed in my chest. That's it, Dominic murmured. Don't push it down. Let it rise. The heat spread to my hands, my arms coursing through me like a second heartbeat. Blue light flickered behind my eyelids. Open your eyes. I did. Flames danced across my palms. Not wild, not destructive, just present, alive, beautiful. Holy hell, I breathed. Exactly. Carter's grin was incandescent. Now. Can you make it bigger? I thought about it. The flames grew, climbing up my forearms in elegant spirals. Smaller? They retreated to my fingertips, delicate as candlelight. Can you move it? I held out my hand. The fire lifted. Hovering in the air between us, a miniature sun casting blue shadows across their faces. I'm doing this, I said, wonder replacing fear. I'm actually doing this. You always were. Dominic stepped closer, close enough that the flames reflected in his eyes. You just needed to stop being afraid of yourself. The fire pulsed, responding to the emotion swelling in my chest. Not fear this time. Something warmer, deeper. I think I'm going to cry, I admitted. Sexy, Julian said, and I laughed, watery but genuine. The flames flickered with my laughter, dancing brighter. Your power responds to all emotion, Carter said softly. Not just fear or anger. Joy, relief, love, all of it. Love. The word hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. It's too soon for that, I said. Is it? Dominic's hand lifted, I hovering near the flames. May I? I nodded. He reached through the fire. It parted around his hand like water, warm but not burning. His fingers found mine, lacing together, and the flames wrapped around both our hands like a blessing. Pack bonds form fast, he said quietly. When they're right. When they're real. Carter moved to my other side, his hand finding my free one. The fire spread to include him, blue light painting us all in shades of magic. Julian completed the circle and the flames rose higher, surrounding us in a wall of gentle heat that felt like coming home. We're not asking you to bond tonight, Dominic said, or tomorrow, or even next week. But we're asking you to stay, Carter added. Past the 3 days, past the 48-hour deadline. Stay and let us show you what Pack really means. What if I hurt you? Then we heal. Julian's smile was soft. That's what Pack does. We break, we heal, we stay. The fire pulsed, and I felt it. The truth of their words, the certainty of their presence, the safety of being seen completely and chosen anyway. Okay, I whispered. The flames exploded outward, a supernova of blue light that should have burned us all. It didn't. Instead, it felt like a caress. Like every wall I'd built around myself dissolving. Like being known down to my bones and loved because of it. Not despite it. When the light faded, we stood in a circle of scorched grass, unharmed, breathing hard. Was that? I started. Pack recognition, Dominic finished. Your power accepting ours, acknowledging the bond. I thought bonds took time. They do. For most people. Carter pulled me against his chest, and I went willingly. But we're not most people. My phone buzzed. I almost didn't check it, almost threw it in the grass, and ignored whatever fresh hell was waiting. But curiosity won. Adrian. Mom's having a breakdown. Dad locked himself in his study. The lawyer called. Apparently your grandmother's will had provisions they never told you about. If they tried to mortgage the property, it automatically transfers to you free and clear. You're rich, by the way. Like, actually rich. Grandma had investments nobody knew about. Call me when you can. Love you. I read it twice, then showed them. Julian whistled. Your grandmother was playing 4-dimensional chess. She always said preparation was power. I smiled, thinking of her sharp eyes and sharper mind. Guess she meant it. Another text came through. Unknown number. My stomach clenched, expecting Dr. Vance. But it was different. Impressive display. We'll be watching, but from a distance now. You've chosen your pack well. Stay safe. Pyrokinetic. V. They're backing off, I said, surprised. For now. Dominic read over my shoulder. They'll be back, but we have time to prepare. Together, Carter added. Together, I agreed. Above us, the sky was starting to lighten. Dawn creeping toward Seattle, painting clouds in shades of gold and rose. One day, I'd survived one impossible day, walked away from a disaster wedding, discovered I had powers, found a pack, reclaimed my inheritance, scared off an organization that had been watching me for 14 years. Not bad for someone who started the morning thinking they were getting married. "What now?" I asked. "Now?" Julian stretched, grinning. "Now we sleep. Then we eat Carter's terrible cooking. Then we teach you not to flood bathrooms when you shower." That happened once. "It hasn't happened yet," Dominic corrected. "But statistically, it's coming." I laughed, bright and free, and the air around us warmed. My fire, my power, my choice. Carter's arm wrapped around my waist. Julian took my hand. Dominic led us back inside, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of what came next. Because whatever it was, I wouldn't face it alone. We climbed the stairs to the guest room. My room now. They helped me push furniture away from the still damp floor, making space. "Stay," I said before I could second-guess it. All three of them froze. "You don't have to." "I want to." I met their eyes, each in turn. "I don't want to be alone tonight." They didn't argue. We collapsed onto the bed in a tangle of limbs and warmth. Carter behind me, solid and safe. Julian pressed against my front, already half asleep. Dominic's hand found mine in the darkness, holding tight. Pack scent wrapped around me. Cedar and smoke and rain and something uniquely us. Home. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what?" Dominic's voice was already drowsy. "For choosing me, when I couldn't choose myself." His hand squeezed mine. "Always." Outside, Seattle woke up slowly. Cars starting, birds singing, the city moving forward into another day. And here, in a house that smelled like pack and possibility, I finally let myself rest. My wedding day had ended in flames. But maybe that's exactly what I needed. To burn away everything false and find what was real underneath. 3 alphas who saw my fire and didn't run. Who taught me that power wasn't something to fear. It was something to claim. And I was just getting started. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as can ever imagine. So do check it out. Hit subscribe. The next story drops soon.